There is a moment every man remembers, the moment he realizes a woman does not value him. Maybe it is when she takes hours to answer a message she once replied to in seconds. Maybe it is when she scrolls her phone while he speaks, eyes dead, attention gone. Maybe it is when his effort is met with boredom, sarcasm, or that dull, cold tone that says, without words, that he does not matter. Now here is the shift. The worst part is not her behavior. The worst part is the feeling inside his chest when he stays, when he explains, when he argues, when he tries even harder to impress someone who has already placed him on the discount shelf. It is the quiet shame of seeing himself accept low effort, low respect and low presence, and then pretending that it is fine. It is the slow erosion of his own self-respect that lingers long after she is gone. And this is where it gets real. The title of this video speaks about smart ways to respond when a woman does not value you, but the truth is deeper. This is not only about what to say to her, it is about who you decide to be in that moment. It is about whether you will be a man who chases disrespect, or a man who calmly walks in another direction when the energy is not right. It is about building an inner code that is stronger than your attraction, stronger than your fear of being alone. That is the trap. Most men think the problem is her. They say that she changed, that she became distant, that she started acting cold, that she is talking to other men, that she is always on her phone. They focus on her actions while ignoring the deeper truth. The deeper truth is this: she is showing you how she ranks you in her life right now. The real problem is that you see that ranking and still decide to stay in the same role. So look closer. When a woman does not value you, it reveals two things at once. It reveals her pattern, and it exposes yours. Her pattern may be low effort, distraction, or chasing constant attention from many men. Your pattern may be overgiving, seeking approval, and hoping your kindness will buy her respect. One pattern and the other fit together like a lock and key. If you do not change your pattern, you will keep attracting the same story in a different body. Here is what most men miss. A woman cannot devalue you unless you keep showing up where you are not valued. The disrespect starts with her behavior, but it continues with your permission. Every time you text again after being ignored, every time you laugh off a rude comment, every time you accept last-minute plans where she treats you like a spare part, you are training her that this is all she needs to give. You are telling her, through your actions, that she can invest less and still keep you. This is why it hurts. You are not only hurt by her, you are hurt by the version of yourself that you become around her. You see yourself bending, shrinking, explaining, and negotiating for basic respect, and you know it is beneath you. You replay the scenes in your mind, wondering why you said that, why you agreed to that, why you stayed after that last comment or that last flake. The pain is not only the loss of her, it is the loss of your own standard. Now connect the dots. To respond smartly when a woman does not value you, you need more than a few clever lines. You need a new framework. A quiet way of standing that changes what you tolerate, how you behave, and where you invest your time. You need a way of thinking that keeps you calm, instead of reactive, grounded instead of desperate. You need a way of moving that makes disrespect the end of the connection, not the start of a debate. So the question becomes this: what does a strong, self-led man do when he realizes a woman does not value him? What is the first response that keeps his dignity, protects his peace, and increases his power instead of draining it? The first response is simple, and it does not involve her at all. It begins with what can be called the calm internal audit. And the lesson is simple. The calm internal audit is where you step back and take inventory of what is actually happening, without excuses and without drama. You ask yourself clear questions. How often does she initiate? How often does she follow through? How does she speak to you? How does she act when you are not giving her attention? How do you feel after spending time with her? You strip away the fantasy and look only at behavior. Now take this seriously. Your mind will try to defend your attachment. It will make excuses for her schedule, her stress, her past difficulties, everything. You will hear yourself say that she is just busy, just tired, just not good at texting, just going through a phase. But the calm internal audit respects patterns over words. It says this: if her behavior makes you feel small, anxious, or invisible more often than it makes you feel respected, seen, and calm, then the truth is already in front of you. Now here is the shift. This internal audit is not about blaming her. It is about telling yourself the truth. Maybe she has options and you are not a priority. Maybe she is not ready for what you want. Maybe she is emotionally unavailable. All of that can be true. But what matters is that you are honest enough to say, this is the level of value she gives me. The first smart response is to see that clearly without sugarcoating it. And this is where it gets real. Once you have seen the truth, the second response is to match energy without anger. Many men either chase harder or explode. They either send a flood of messages trying to win her back, or they send long paragraphs about how she is ungrateful and wrong. Both responses come from wounded pride. Both responses give away power. That is the trap. When you chase harder, you teach her that your attention does not need to be earned. When you explode, you show her that she can control your emotions with a small change of effort. Matching energy is something else. It means that you calmly adjust your level of interest to mirror the level of effort she gives you. If she rarely initiates, you stop initiating as often. If she takes days to respond, you stop responding instantly. If she is vague, you stop over-clarifying plans. So look closer. Matching energy is not about games. It is about alignment. You are simply letting the connection settle at the level of effort that both of you are willing to maintain. If she feels your reduced attention and decides to increase her presence, you will see it clearly. If she does not respond, that silence is your answer. Either way, you did not beg, you did not perform, and you did not complain. You simply let reality speak. Here is what most men miss. When you match energy from a calm place, you give her room to choose. She can decide to step up, or she can decide to drift away. You are no longer dragging the interaction forward on your back. You are not pulling her through a door she does not want to walk through. You are simply standing and watching who actually wants to join you. That alone filters out anyone who does not truly value your presence. This is why it hurts. Deep down, many men are afraid that if they stop carrying the connection, it will collapse. And sometimes it does. That collapse is painful because it crushes the illusion that effort alone can make someone care. But that pain is also clean. It is the pain of accepting truth instead of living in fantasy. It marks the end of a story that was draining you. Now connect the dots. When you combine the calm internal audit with matching energy, something starts to shift inside you. You begin to see that you do not need to demand respect. You only need to watch how people show up, and then decide whether to stay. You realize that your power is not in convincing anyone to value you, but in deciding where your presence goes. So the question becomes this. Once you have matched energy and seen that she still does not value you, what is the next smart response? The next move is about creating distance. It is about space and silence. It is about reclaiming the oxygen that you have been giving away. And the lesson is simple. The third response is the power of space and silence. This is where you stop pushing the connection forward altogether. You pause the check-ins, the long messages, the comments on her posts. You let silence do what arguments can never do. You let the absence of your energy speak. When you stop feeding the connection, the true strength of the connection is revealed. Now take this seriously. Space and silence are not punishments. They are clarity tools. A woman who truly values you will feel the gap. She may reach out, ask if you are distant, or attempt to reconnect. A woman who has already mentally checked out will barely notice, or she will only return when her other options dry up. In both cases, you have gained insight without drama. Now here is the shift. This silent space is also for you. It gives you time to feel what your life is like without the constant emotional noise. You may notice your focus returning, your stress dropping, your sleep improving. You may notice that you were more attached to the idea of her than to the reality of how she treated you. Space reveals that difference. And this is where it gets real. Let us bring this into a modern scenario. Imagine you have been seeing someone you met on a dating app. At first, replies are quick and warm. Over time, her energy drops. She answers a day later with dry lines, never suggests meeting, and always has a vague excuse. You feel the slip, but you keep sending long messages, telling jokes and trying to revive that early spark. You feel more and more empty after every interaction. That is the trap. In that moment, the right move is not another joke or another plan. It is the three responses you have just heard. You run the internal audit and see the truth. Her behavior shows low interest. You match energy and stop over-texting. Then you bring in silence and see what happens. If she lets it fade, you have your answer. If she reaches out with real effort, you have something to work with. Either way, your dignity stays intact. So look closer. There is another scenario. You are at the gym, and there is a woman you have spoken to for weeks. She is friendly, but lately she never makes eye contact, gives one-word replies, and walks away mid-conversation to scroll her phone. You feel foolish standing there with half-finished sentences. You start thinking of new ways to impress her, new things to say. Here is what most men miss. This is already your signal. Respect for yourself demands different behavior. You do not need to insult her or give a cold speech. You simply say less, stop seeking her attention, and place your focus back on your training. You let her energy set the distance. If she approaches, fine. If she does not, you are still there, building your body, your discipline, and your mind. This is why it hurts. Every time you pull back from someone who does not value you, you will feel a sting. It will feel like a small loss. You had a story in your mind about how it could be. You wanted her to be different. You wanted your effort to change everything. When that story ends, you need to grieve not only the person but also the fantasy. Now connect the dots. After space and silence, there is a fourth response that separates grounded men from reactive men. It is the decision to state your standard once. Not as a plea, not as a threat, but as a calm expression of what you accept in your life. This is where words finally come in. So the question becomes this: how does a man state his standard without sounding needy or aggressive? The key is to have acceptance in your tone. You simply describe what you expect and what you will do if it is not there. You speak from calm, not from fear. You speak briefly, not with long speeches. And the lesson is simple. For example, you may say something like this in your own words. You prefer consistent communication, you appreciate effort from both sides, and you are not interested in one-sided connections. You are not demanding that she change. You are simply saying this is your lane. You put it out once and then watch. You do not repeat it. You do not argue. You do not keep selling yourself. You let her answer with behavior. Now take this seriously. Many men skip this step. They either never speak their standard and silently resent everything, or they repeat their standard every week in long emotional talks. Both approaches kill respect. Stating your standard once and then acting in line with it is what creates weight behind your words. If her behavior stays the same, you know what needs to happen next. Now here is the shift. This brings us to the fifth response, which is the exit without drama. This is the point where you stop trying to fix the connection and start protecting your own peace. You have seen the low-value behavior, you have matched energy, you have allowed silence, and you may have stated your standard. If the pattern does not change, the next move is not a louder speech. The next move is leaving, and this is where it gets real. Leaving without drama looks very different from the emotional exits that most men are used to. There is no long message listing every flaw you see in her. There is no last pleading conversation. There is no scene in public or on social media. Instead, there is a simple decision. You reduce your availability. You stop initiating. You stop accepting invitations where you are treated as an option, and you step back fully. That is the trap. Some men believe that if they leave without a loud signal, she will never realize what she lost. They want her to know how badly she treated them. They want her to feel guilty. But this is just another way of giving her power. The truth is that your life moving forward is the only real message. You do not need her understanding. You need your own evolution. So look closer. When you exit quietly, you also protect your own image of yourself. Instead of remembering yourself begging or exploding, you remember yourself walking away with a straight spine. That memory becomes a new reference point in your mind. It tells you that you are a man who honors reality and does not cling where he is not wanted. That memory will strengthen you in the next test. Here is what most men miss. The exit is not about winning. It is about alignment. You are not trying to teach her a lesson. You are accepting that your value is not seen there and choosing a different direction. You do not have to label her as good or bad. You simply say, this space is not for me. This is why it hurts. Ending any connection, even a toxic one, will leave a vacuum in your life for a while. You will miss the routine, the familiar messages, the comfort of having someone to think about. You may doubt yourself. You may replay the decision. But this pain fades. What grows is the quiet pride of knowing you did not sell your self-respect just to feel temporary closeness. Now connect the dots. Up until now, the focus has been on how you respond to her. But there is a sixth response, and it is the most important. It is how you respond to yourself after the connection ends. This is where Stoic self-mastery fully enters. It is the rebuilding of your frame and focus. So the question becomes this: who are you when she is gone? Do you collapse into distraction, scrolling for hours, checking her profile, wondering if she will contact you again? Or do you turn this space into fuel? Do you recenter on your physical training, your mission, your skills, your money, your character? And the lesson is simple. The sixth response is to rebuild your frame with intention. You fill your days with things that strengthen you. You wake up earlier. You train harder. You study more. You pour time into work that matters. You reconnect with your brothers, your family, your hobbies. You rebuild a life so full that someone else's lack of appreciation can no longer shake you at your core. Now take this seriously. This shift does not mean you stop caring about connection. It means you stop making connection the center of your identity. A woman can walk into your life and add to it, but she cannot be the foundation of your worth. When your frame is strong, you see low-value treatment as a sign to move on, not as a personal failure that must be fixed at any cost. Now here is the shift. All of this can sound strong in theory, but what about when emotions run high? For example, think about a breakup in the modern world. There is distance. Then one day you see her posting happy pictures with friends, maybe with another man in the background. She looks free, while you feel heavy. You want to react, to send messages, to comment, to show that you are doing fine. And this is where it gets real. In that moment, every principle in this video is tested. The calm internal audit tells you that this is no longer your lane. Matching energy tells you that her life is moving forward without you, so you must move yours without her. Space and silence tell you not to respond to every post or story. Stating your standard reminds you that you want a different kind of connection. The exit without drama holds your hand back from reaching out. The rebuilt frame tells you to pour this energy into your own path. That is the trap. If you break these responses and chase again, you may gain a moment of relief, but the long-term cost is high. You will feel small again. You will feel that you have betrayed your own standard. Pain will continue. But if you hold the line, the craving will fade. Your mind will clear. You will see that her value of you does not define your value. So look closer. This is where Stoic philosophy sharpens everything. The core of this way of thinking is simple. Some things are in your control, some are not. Her feelings, her choices, her attention, her loyalty, her attraction, these are not in your control. Your thoughts, your standards, your actions, your boundaries, these are fully in your control. Confusion begins when you reverse these. Here is what most men miss. When you try to control a woman's feelings, you abandon the only territory you truly own, which is your own mind and behavior. You start performing. You start bending your values. You start chasing validation. You leave your center, and then you wonder why she does not respect you. No one fully respects a man who has left his own center. This is why it hurts. Every time you hand over your center, you feel it. You feel off balance. Your mood depends on her replies. Your self-worth depends on her compliments. Your plans depend on her schedule. When she withdraws value, your whole emotional world shakes. This is too much power to give anyone. Now connect the dots. The 6 responses in this video are not tricks. They are ways of living that keep you inside your own frame. See reality clearly. Match energy with calm. Use space and silence wisely. State your standard once. Exit without drama when patterns stay the same. Then rebuild your frame and focus. These are the behaviors of a grounded man. So the question becomes this: how do you install these responses into your daily life so they are there when you need them? One powerful way is through mental training. Just like the body can be trained to lift more weight, the mind can be trained to hold more pressure without breaking. And the lesson is simple. Here is a practical exercise you can start today. Step 1. Take 10 minutes and write down a clear description of how you want to be treated in connection. Be specific about respect, communication, and effort. Step 2. Write down 3 times in the past when you accepted less than this and how it made you feel. Step 3. Write 1 sentence that describes your new rule. For example, you only invest in people who consistently show up. Step 4. When you feel disrespected or undervalued, read this rule before responding. Now take this seriously. This exercise trains your mind to pause before reacting. It builds a small gap between emotion and behavior. In that gap, your new standard lives. Over time, you will notice that you no longer rush to fix every slight. You watch more. You speak less. You move with more intention. This is how emotional discipline is built. Now here is the shift. To anchor this even deeper, consider a single line from one of the ancient masters of resilience. A ruler of an empire once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." That line is a knife that cuts away confusion. You cannot force anyone to value you. You can only decide how you will respond when they do not. And this is where it gets real. Many modern men consume endless advice about dating patterns, but they miss the core. The core is not tricking someone into choosing you. The core is becoming a man whose presence is steady, whose standards are clear, and whose life is rich. From that position, you do not cling to low-value treatment because you know that your life is already full. You know that connection must be an addition, not a rescue. That is the trap. If you enter every situation hoping to be rescued from emptiness, you will tolerate almost anything. You will abandon your own values while trying to hold on to someone who does not see your worth. This is how men end up in long situations where they are half chosen, half respected, half seen. Years pass and they no longer recognize themselves. So look closer. When you commit to these 6 responses, you are not just changing how you deal with one woman. You are changing your relationship with yourself. You are telling yourself that you will no longer trade your integrity for a few moments of closeness. You are building a history of decisions that say, "My standards mean more to me than my cravings." Here is what most men miss. That inner history is what builds confidence. Confidence is not loud words or big gestures. It is the quiet knowledge that when you have been tested, you did not abandon yourself. Every time you walk away from low-value treatment, you stack another brick in that foundation. Over time, that foundation becomes unshakable. This is why it hurts. When you first start doing this, you may feel more alone. You may turn down chances for shallow attention. You may say no to situations that used to give you a quick high. You may face nights where it is just you and your thoughts. But through that discomfort, a new version of you is born, one that does not need to beg for respect. Now connect the dots. When you stand as that grounded man, something interesting happens. Not only will women who do not value you drift away, but women who appreciate strength, clarity, and calm will feel drawn in. You are no longer sending the signal that you will tolerate anything. You are sending the signal that you are selective, and that your attention is something to be earned. So the question becomes this: the next time you feel unseen, what will you do? Will you slide back into old habits of chasing, explaining, and arguing? Or will you practice what you have learned here? Will you stay loyal to your standard even when it costs you immediate comfort? And the lesson is simple. You are not responsible for convincing anyone to see your value. You are responsible for seeing it yourself, protecting it, and walking away from spaces where it is ignored. That responsibility is not a burden, it is a path to freedom. Now take this seriously. If this message speaks to you, do not let it pass by as just another video. Use it, save it, revisit it when you feel weak. Share it with another man who needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment about which response you will practice first, and stay connected to content that calls you higher instead of dragging you down. This is Stoic Truth, where silence becomes strength.